We're going to be showing the chair just a little bit later. Steve, come on in and have a seat. We've talked about this word how do you say it? Proprioceptors?
Proprioceptors.
Let's go ahead and put the word up too, because we've got a slide about it. And it's describing this as the central nervous system, and we've been talking about a chair,
Right.
but we've been talking about an awful lot more, right?
Yes, we are talking about something which does what we call in science sensory motor stimulation. If your posture is controlled, what physicists call by a servomechanism. The servomechanism takes input from your eyes, from the visual system, from your vestibular system, which you usually sense as your balance system, and from the proprioceptors to feed it into the cerebellum. The cerebellum usually automatically controls the system. It's non-volitional. And in the cerebellum, those signals get formed into a pattern and then compared to a pattern which you learned in childhood on how to sit. And then feeds control signals back to the muscles which we just talked about, the core muscles, and stabilizes you. If you sit still and one of those inputs falls asleep, let's say it's this way, or you have an injury by moving wrong, so your brain thinks, okay, we have to keep this person stable, and uses a large superficial muscles to stabilize you. And the bad thing about that is, it makes it a habit to use those large muscles.
Yeah.
Even if you're healed over time, it still uses those large muscles because that's the emergency brake, and it's afraid, to say it in layman terms, that you hurt yourself again.
Yeah.
But if you now use the chair which we have designed, or the mechanism which we have
we're going to
designed.
talk about that chair, but you introduced a new concept to us that we have to talk about just a little bit. It's sensory motor stimulation.
Yes.
Want to talk a little bit about that? Let's go to the slide. Sensory motor stimulation and attention deficit disorder. We're going to go to the next slide after that. And attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and autism.
Common to all of those is your brain needs input from your senses in your skins, in your limbs, in your spine, to know where you are in space. Have you ever had the feeling laying flat and completely laying still? You sometimes have the feeling that you float out of your body. And that is
sometimes I wish I did.
Yeah, but that is because the sensory input is missing. And when you have kids with autism,
yeah, I actually go to, there's an autism slide about this, the symptoms triad. This again comes from WebMD. Impairments in social interaction, impairments in communication, and restricted interest and repetitive behavior. What they're talking about, though, again, is sensory motor stimulation, or lack thereof.
Yeah, sensory input, autism, ADD, and ADHD, and MS are sensory input dysfunctions.
Really?
Yeah, and what we found through the suggestion of Dr. Klaas in Woodinville is that if we put an external stimulus on the spine or on the vestibular system, this autism can function.
Really?
We have
you have clinical trials going on right now. We're going to talk about those in a minute, but now it's time to talk about the chair.
Yes.
Because we've got the chair. We ready, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the chair. Are we ready? We're going to be looking at the the functional gauge on the chair, right?
Let me first step back a minute. We wanted to create something that we all know that therapy, when you go to the PT once a week, is not very useful because you don't do it at home. We wanted to create something which is a part of your everyday life. Using it, it's part of it, and you still get all the benefits from doing therapy. And therefore,
absolutely, I've got to watch MASH and Frasier reruns, so you know.
That's one of them, and you can do actually work on it if you want to.
Oh yeah, work too.
And so what we decided to do is put it in a chair so it doesn't looks like a common tool, and when Steve, when you move, you can move to side now, and you can move back and front. So, and the entire part is completely unconscious. When you sit at your desk, you move, and it allows you to move. It doesn't force you to, which a designer thought it should be.
Just like a horse.
Like a horse. No, the horse forces you in there, but now you are actually exciting the horse. You give the horse commands.
Oh, I see.
So you are in control, and that's very important for your limbic system of the brain, because if you're in control, you're much more able to learn things. If you have to react to other things, you divert part of your energy, but you're in control.
So how does this have impact on your sensory motor stimulation?
Because it stimulates your spinal proprioceptors, and it stimulates your vestibular system, because it moves. Movement activates the sensor right away, activates the sensors along your spine, and gives you feedback. And it pumps new nutrients to the discs, because the discs itself are not taking in. You have to have a pressure differential to put new nutrients into the disc. And what the other interesting part is, your craniosacral fluid, which transports nutrients to the nerve endings and back, really depends on movement too. So it improves your health nervous-wise, nervous system-wise.
Well, now you've got a gauge on there that we're talking.
What we wanted to do for my son is I didn't want to create something which was challenging him to the max right away. I wanted to create a progressive learning environment. So that's the reason why we used a air suspension system in the chair, which you can inflate nearly as firm as you would have in a regular chair. And then, when you get used to the movement, you can reduce the tension by letting air out and correctly set it. We put the gauge on there to give you a measurement, to give you feedback on where you are in your learning process. So you have something more reproducible going forward. And this way, you can measure your progress, you know where you are, it gives you a feeling of safety. Moving forward. The other things we did with the chair is we have the backrest moving in and out to really adapt so that you can sit right over the sweet spot, what we call the sweet spot of the chair for optimum balancing. And the backrest moves up and down for optimum lumbar support. What we have seen is, after using the chair for a few weeks, you don't use the backrest anymore. You only use it when you're on the phone, you use your feet on the desk. And you just sit straight, you naturally assume a very balanced posture, and you move all the time.
Okay, now let's talk about clinical trials, because you mentioned that it has it's being seen to have an impact on autism.
It has been, we have had a child we have a couple of children at Children's Institute for Learning on Mercer Island. And we had some, what we call ranging study, to see if there's an impact of it after suggestion of Dr. Glass. And we saw that with one particular child, the attention span, or attentiveness, to focus on things went from 1 minute supervised to 60 minutes unsupervised over a 6-week time period. And the child was using this tool only in school. The parents saw a permanency of the benefit at home. The mom said that the young boy was able to endure his siblings better, was making eye contact, and was doing much better motor planning.
Wow. So at the beginning of the show, when I said you can exercise your mind and your body just by sitting in the chair, that was right, huh?
It was absolutely right. It only makes you, it doesn't make you smarter. It must just
doesn't make you smarter?
Lets you get all the benefits of what you already have. So you can actually learn more memories, which is learning. And
okay.
It really enhances your life.
We've just flown along in the show. We have less than a minute to go. What's next for CoreWorks? What's next for this chair? When am I going to hear more about it?
We are currently raising money to go forward. We have entered licensing agreements with a dental stool manufacturer in Milwaukee, and we are now entering the rehabilitation and prevention market for low back pain. We have very good results from several doctors using the chair for people for post and pre-op treatment for low back pain. We have now one test running in Bellingham for chronic back pain patients, and the results look extremely encouraging.
Wow.
We had one back pain patient who had a surgery done in October of last year, didn't get better until March, and then the surgeon prescribed a stool.
The surgeon prescribed the chair.
Yeah, he had heard about it.
We're going to have to go. Dr. Horst Schaaf, thank you very much. Go to the website, corewerks.com, and you're going to learn an awful lot more. We'll see you right here on Public Exposure next week. Everybody